afternoon. So, welcome to the live. We're going to talk about breaking some eggs, making some omelettes, because we're hungry. We're hungry for something new, a nice new omelette that we haven't tasted before. The sweet taste of success. No, seriously. You have to break a few eggs to make an omelette so that you can become successful. So quit playing it small. No, what we're talking about there is essentially breaking a few eggs to make an omelette is a metaphor for making a change, doing things differently, which is what's required when you need to change things up. Something's not quite working. You've got to get drastic, you've got to get radical. Now, there's a couple of ways. Sometimes when things are not quite working, maybe they're working, you're not getting the progress that you want. All right, there's a couple of ways of dealing with it. If it's stagnant, you can't carry on doing what you're doing. If you're getting some progress but not enough, you can double down, try harder, do more. But sometimes when it's stagnant, as in nothing's happening, right, at that point, if it's stagnant and nothing's happening, then at that point you have to switch it up and do something differently, right? And that's where the metaphor comes in. You have to break a few eggs to become successful. You're making that omelette. It's going to be really tasty. You'll taste the success, but you have to break a few eggs. And that often requires doing something different. You know, it's like the definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. No. So breaking a few eggs, doing things differently, it's often polarising of people too. How you doing? Welcome to the live. Yeah, it can often be polarising because when you break a few eggs, I always think of it as the term throwing the spanner in the works. You know, when things are just flatlined and there's no progression, throwing the spanner in the works can often help because just like breaking a few eggs, it switches things up. You're doing something differently. Like I say, if you are actually getting some progress in your endeavours and your goals, then maybe you're not trying hard enough so you can double down. But for those situations where you're getting no results, that could be anything, you know, whether it's in your business life or your dating life, you're not getting the results that you want. It's time to break a few eggs and throw a spanner in and do something completely different. Which means you gotta probably get a bit vulnerable and stick your neck out and do something different, which is probably going to polarise some people. You'll probably upset some people, and that's fine, because when you polarise people, you find you get two types. You get obviously people that love it and people that don't, and that's fine. You're finding the people that love it. You forget the people that don't. It doesn't matter. I'm doing very well. How are you? Just thought I'd shoot this quick live, to be honest, because I've got a bit of time. And talking about breaking some eggs, because I'm getting a bit hungry. By the way, on eggs, best nutrition. So I'm going to make an omelette after this. I'm physically going to break some eggs. You know, I'm going to quit playing it small. Have about a dozen eggs in one go. No, probably about 6. But yeah, the idea of breaking some eggs, it's like throwing a spanner in. You see this in cycles every now and again, even politically. Might be seeing it at the minute, you know, someone's chucking a spanner in the works and smashing it up. Sometimes that's required when you've got stagnation. You see people doing this when relationships get stagnant. Someone sabotages it, right? And sometimes that's the price of progress or change. But in the more positive sense, I always think that you should look to stick your head above the parapet and do things radically different if you're not getting results. Break a few eggs and try something new. You know, take some risks. I don't know if you saw my live earlier today. I've been out all day because I've been training pretty much all day. Went doing jiu-jitsu this morning, but just before it, I shot a live about taking risks and why if you don't take risks you get nothing. It was I saw something from Chris Eubank Senior about taking risks, and he was saying those people that don't take risks, yeah, they play it safe. You know, they avoid pain, discomfort, playing it safe, but they also become nothing, do nothing, get nothing. So yes, I always think you should take some risks, and sometimes that requires breaking some eggs, doing things differently. One of the hardest things we can do in terms of doing things differently is learning the discipline of letting go and on outcomes, becoming outcome independent. You might have seen a lot of this on YouTube. That's quite a hard skill, becoming outcome independent, because when we're emotionally invested in our dreams and our goals, which we can get emotionally invested, it's incredibly difficult to let go of that dream, as in, because when you let go, people assume you mean you're giving up. You're not giving up. You're letting go of the need to have a particular outcome. And what's far better is, like I say in a lot of my videos, is to focus on like micro movements each day. You know, this is why I always say you should focus on achieving three small things a day, little micro movements towards your goals. The power of 3 consistently applied each day, rather than chasing an outcome. Because that outcome, like your goal, stick it on the horizon, out there, somewhere, miles away. Not too unachievable, but stick it on the horizon so that it's hard to get. And just focus on micro movements towards that goal each day, 3 things a day. But be outcome independent, because quite often your vision or what you expect might be out of your control, you know, and you might not quite reach it. And you've got to be prepared to pivot. And if you get stagnation, you've got to be prepared to smash it up, throw a spanner in the works, break a few eggs, to pivot in a slightly different, similar direction, but, you know, like in, I've not got it here, Maxwell Malt's book, Psycho-Cybernetics. If you haven't read that, go and read it, because it's a good book. It's a very high-level concept on goal achievement. But the purpose of it is to understand that your goal's like a target out there. And you're just aiming at it, but constantly. He uses the analogy of a guided missile. It's just course correcting every time. And this happens in life. I think there's some like birds nesting. Flipping heck, are they having a fight? In the trees there just next to me. That's what that noise is. But yeah, you're constantly course correcting, and you have to do this many times to pivot, you know, in all sorts. I've had to do this in business. Just keep pivoting, keep using the feedback. And occasionally you have to be prepared to let go of things, smash things, change direction. And, you know, that's fine. Flipping heck, what's going on? Yeah, I think there's some birds nesting in the trees. But yeah, you got. I mean, one of the reasons why you got to break a few eggs to become successful is you don't want to be. You shouldn't be wanting to be liked by everyone. You know, if you're trying to build a business or products, not everyone's going to like your products. And like I said this morning in the live I did about risks, taking risks means accepting failure. So if not everyone likes your products, that's fine. Find the people that do by polarising them. Force people to make a decision. Some buy, some don't. Yeah. And I'm going to reiterate fucking hell, what's going on? Oh, it's down there now. Right, I'm going to reiterate what I said this morning, which is, if you want to up your rate of success, you have to up your rate of failure, because there's a correlation between the numbers of success and the amount of failures. And that's in anything, you know. Like I said this morning, simple analogy. Sales, top of the funnel, loads. How many get through? For every one sale, which is your success, maybe 1,000 get through. So that means 999 failures for every sale. So if you want to up your rate of success, you have to up rate your failure, your rate of failure. And that means getting rejected. It means taking some risks and not winning. The worst you can do is not break the eggs and just play it safe. I don't think, you know, playing it safe is a boring life. And also it's not safe either. It reminds me of when, before I started my business, when I had a good career, you know. I had a brilliant career, golden handcuffs, fantastic salary, benefits package, right, here's a good story. Benefits package, everything. It was like, people saying, why are you leaving that job? It was like really well paid and all this good benefits package. But something inside, I always wanted to have my own business. And when I started the business and jacked my job in, it was really risky. I felt that risk, and I was like, fucking hell, what happens if I don't? I'm giving up this salary, it's guaranteed salary. And I didn't take a crazy risk, by the way. I'd lined up a contract, you know what I mean? I'd kept it going and lined up a contract, but it was still, you know, I could feel it in here. It was risky. And then I left, jacked my job in, started this contract, and I think within like 2 or 3 weeks or whatever, I got my first invoice paid. And then all my worries went, and what I realised, what I thought was safe, you know, the career, turned out not to be. Was actually, no, because what you're doing there is you're outsourcing the responsibility for your money and future to a third party, to a corporation, rather than taking matters into your own hands. Yeah? So taking matters into your own hands is taking the risk, breaking a few eggs. And that's what I did. And then the other day, right, I was in, how are you doing? Yeah, you're right, Brian. Hello, Brian. Anyway, the other day on this story, right? So I've done that, and obviously I've had the business 12 years now, so it's not looking back. Right? But when I first did it, it was risky. The other day, I was in town centre. I had to meet my dad, right? And I went, parked up, I was walking to this cafe just to get a brew and wait for my dad. And I was just walking along, and somebody shouted my name. Andy. I was like, turn around, and it was a guy who used to work with at this corporation. He was sat on a bench, waiting. And this corporation is absolutely massive, right? 100,000 staff, big international, corporate thing, blue chip. And he sat on this flipping bench. And he's like, oh, you're still doing your business and all the software? I said, yeah, it's going well. He's like, oh, you're looking well. I said, yeah, you too, mate. I said, what are you doing now? He was working round the corner. I said, oh, what happened with the career at the place? Because he stayed. I was like, oh, yeah, we all got made redundant. It was like all of them, fucking all of the team. That's what happens when you outsource your future to a corporation instead of taking matters into your own hands. There's nothing wrong with having a career, as long as you know the risk that one day you can't count it for granted that you're going to have that job for life. Someone will just come along and the business changes, you're just a fucking number. The whole team got pretty much made redundant. They're all working all over the place. I was like, since I left, I've got my business, I've got the same business. And yeah, done a few videos on this, call it personal sovereignty, taking matters into your own hands. You've got to break a few eggs if you want to become successful. Stop playing small. Break a few eggs, make some big changes. Don't be that vanilla individual that just follows a herd. Anyway, right. There's not really much more I can say on it. Break a few eggs to be successful. Throw a spanner in the works. That is, just to clarify, if you get in progress, it might just mean that you have to double down and work harder. If you're not getting any progress or things are not going in the direction that you want, you're going to have to switch things up, make a change. Therefore, break some eggs, right? Throw a spanner in the works. Do the opposite and become outcome independent. Let go of the final outcome. Be prepared to pivot on your own journey. Something that's very, very important is being prepared to pivot. Because what happens is the people that remain successful, generally, they're the ones that stay in the game. The people that give up because they lose interest or they get scared or whatever, they don't stay in the game. So you've got to stay in the game. The way to stay in the game, keep reusing your same skills that you develop through life, compound interest on your skills, and keep pivoting, but don't give up, all right? Right, I'm going to go and break some eggs and make an omelette. I'm absolutely starving, all right? Thanks for listening. See you all next time.